Right on. Thank you guys for tuning in to another edition of Factions of Freedom. This is episode 210, where we'll be going over Jade Helm 15 and UWEX16. We have a very special guest for you today, and it is going to be an action-packed episode. I can guarantee you that. Prior to the taping of this episode, we definitely had a few show demons, so we're just going to pick it up from where the show demons stopped with all their chaos. So with that being said, let's jump right into it. I don't know what that was about.
I don't know what happened.
I guess it just dropped.
It dropped there for a little bit.
Man, that stuff's starting to happen more and more often.
Yeah, there we go. But
I guess that means we're doing something right?
Exactly. Stopping us for some reason.
Oh, well, you can't stop the truth from getting out, man. This is meant to get out.
Oh, it has to, because I feel like this next exercise is going to start. People were just like, oh, well, Jade Helm wasn't anything, so they're not even worried about this.
Mm-hmm.
But from my studies on Jade Helm, it was to see how we were going to react to military movement in our area.
Mm-hmm.
On the computer, the Jade program. So then nobody's doing anything for this UWEX, and I just have this feeling that's when they're going to make their move.
Looks like you look at all the build-up of everything else that's happening. You know, pretty much the World War III started in Syria.
Yeah.
You know, the economic collapse, what's going on with the Zika virus. You know, they're definitely planning for some kind of, I don't know if you would call it like a civil uprising or some kind of insurrection, but they're definitely planning for something to happen here.
Exactly.
Where they need those troops right then and there.
And Jade Helm possibly could have been, that's when they were moving all the equipment into position. Now all they have to do is van in these troops like they were doing out here. And nobody knows it.
Do you kind of want to, let's kind of like make a timeline before we jump into UWEX16. Let's make like a timeline for Jade Helm 15 so people understand like what kind of like what happened, what was all out there, and what we were being told all at the same time.
Well, here where I live, it was kind of strange because I found out from my neighbor, because her neighbor had signed over their property to use, which is also my neighbor, for the Jade Helm 15, and that was back in, I want to say April or May of last year, and then that's when we had that big town meeting here. But nobody really knew about it till then. And that's when the two people from Jade Helm came and had that town meeting. And there was a big uprising about it, and that's basically when everybody found out about it.
So, like, whenever the people from Jade Helm came in, did they, to use the land, did they come in like with a contract? Did they come in saying, hey, you need to do this? Or was there like any kind of information on how that process kind of got started, you know?
Well, I know my neighbor over here, her husband or whatever, went to school with one of the higher up in Jade Helm, and that's how he got into it. As far as any other private landowners, I'm not sure exactly how they got tied into it. But I know he had connections to people in Jade Helm. So that's how he got in on it.
All right. So not only was it like your neighbor that was involved with whatever they were building, and I mean, we'll get into that later.
Right. With
whatever they're building, having the troops come in, having some kind of agreement, whatever. But there was also a church that was converted into a FEMA facility?
Yeah, it was converted into like a small shelter. Mm-hmm. It's a pretty good sized church. It used to be an auto body shop, and they bought it, but they never hold services in there. And so one day when I went by there, I saw all these troops congregating outside, and they were all driving their personal vehicles. And then about 4 days later, when I went by, they had the gates open, and it said shelter, and it had entrance on the gate to the drive-through. And one set of double doors had shelter written on it, and the other one had quarantine written on it. So when I decided to drive through there and video it, when I was doing that, troops came out, one guy with rubber surgical gloves on and all that, and they were not very happy that I'd gone through there. But 2 days later, they were completely gone from that area, which was pretty strange to me, why they'd have that like that.
That's what exactly. So I'm wondering, do you have like an idea of how long they were there prior to you discovering them?
They were probably there a day or two before I found them out, and they were probably at that church a total of 3-4 weeks. And just in and out. You know, you wouldn't see them one day, and then the next day they'd be there. So it was kind of strange to me, but I just kept watching to see what was going on. So whenever
let's just jump back to your house real quick, because I think there's some kind of correlation there. Do you think that maybe there was the kind of exercise that they were doing is, say something went on in their base or whatever they were building over in the forests behind your house, and then say they had to transport someone to this church, some kind of scenario drill like that? Do you think that could be what
I was thinking more in the lines, because they actually started coming to my house in strength a little after that, and I was thinking more in the lines they were bringing foreign troops or something in and maybe vaccinating them or something in those areas.
What makes you think they were foreign troops, if you don't mind me asking?
Just because I heard that there was some foreign troops coming in during that time period. That's the only reason I would think that. And then also the fact that, you know, what other medical, I guess I'd never thought of the scenario of maybe something happened out in the field and they had to have medical over there. I was just more in the lines that maybe they were bringing somebody in.
Well, I had gotten footage right around the time all this had started taking place about kind of the same operation. It was like a mobile medical lab. They had children, they had adults, they had seniors, all in different biohazard suits, and pretty much what looked like the middle of nowhere. They had generators, they had tents, they had the full, like I said, mobile medical setup, but it was just in the middle of nowhere.
Yes. Are you referring to that one video of the crisis actors and everything in Austin? In the Austin area?
It might have been.
Because they had that going on as well, and they had kids and all of that in hazmat suits. And I'm pretty sure that was one of the stage crisis centers that they were doing exercises at. So
when you start thinking about it, to kind of roll it back, because I definitely kind of want to touch on like the idea that we do have foreign troops here already working with our soldiers. Like that's a reality. I kind of want to touch on that in a bit. But the idea that they're kind of planning for these bio warfare for these kind of scenarios, that's just what blows my mind, you know?
Yeah, 'cause you never can tell. I mean, that's what me and my wife talk about all the time. It's like, well, who's to tell, you know, when they just spray something? You'll never know.
Exactly. Well, I mean, they got the Zika virus. You know, that came out of nowhere, and then they're saying, oh, Hawaii had to implement medical martial law, so did Venezuela, you know? Stuff like that whenever they just say state of emergency, it's just another code word for martial law, you know?
And that's what they're shooting for, martial law, however they can get it. like the guy today that went around, what was it, someplace up in Michigan and just randomly shot 6 people and killed them.
Well, it's like they keep trying to play on these false flags, like to try to take more of our rights, to try to act like they have the reasons to take our rights.
And they're just getting people on their side. The sheep won't wake up and see what they're doing.
Well, it's like they keep us occupied on this Black Lives Matters, All Lives Matters, police brutality nonsense, and they don't even understand like what the TPP is or Agenda 2030 or any of like the bigger goals.
Bigger problems.
These people are, yeah.
Well, that's why everybody asked me what I thought about the Super Bowl. I said, I don't know. I didn't watch football.
Mm-mm.
I will not, because to me that's just another way to keep people's minds off of what's really going on.
Exactly. I was working on a video whenever the Super Bowl was going on.
I guess Beyonce had a few things to stir up, but that's just to keep people on that.
Well,
Black Panthers and all that crap.
I didn't even, until somebody told me what I was watching or what to feel like when we were supposed to watch Beyonce's little performance. I didn't even know.
Right.
They're like, don't you know that this was a testament to Black Lives Matters, saying, oh, screw you to cops? I was like, I didn't see that, but I mean, if you want to make it that,
right,
you know, and then people proceeded to kind of get that image, and boom, they just made it into something else entirely different. But
exactly,
that's just another distraction, you know.
Yep, and I have a feeling that's what they're doing right now, distraction, and because, you know, getting back to the Jade Helm stuff, that was so out there, and everybody was posting all that stuff, and then to go to this one, and there's nothing hardly posted.
Nothing. Like I can't even find any of the documents for it, other than like a few people that have posted Craigslist postings and some Army listing postings where they're trying to find anti-guerrilla warfare chieftains and anti-insurgents. Right. You know, that I can't find anything else. It's like I'm looking right now at the Jade Helm 15 documents, right? And it's saying that it's a realistic military training drill. It's conducted outside of federally owned property. The RMT process is designed to ensure proper coordination between DoD representatives and local regional authorities. The process includes the following measures: risk assessment, medical and communications plans, ID of training, staging areas, role players, airfield drop zones, landing zone surveys, coordination with local, state, and federal law enforcement, public affairs review. Whoa.
Hang on. I might have to shift here.
Do your thing, brother.
All right. I got 7 dogs that go crazy.
I got 3 of them locked upstairs.
Yeah. But I can escape outside the 37 acres and nobody messes with me.
I wish I had that.
Well, I bought this, I guess, about 10 years ago because of all of this going down and stuff. And I said, well, I'm going to have me a place where I got a well, I got an earth well and all that. But then they let those people in right next door.
I could definitely see how that would...
It puts a damper on it.
Yeah. Just a little bit.
But so I just started watching them instead. All right. Well, I'm ready.
Well, they never expect this kind of stuff. That's why I felt like you had the best cover. You're just like, oh, I'm just going in asking questions. No one's going to think anything.
Right. And my neighbor's being a little more quiet about this one. She hadn't said anything because I asked her, I said, so are y'all a part of this? And I never got a reply.
See? That's... see, I feel like whenever someone doesn't reply like that in those kind of scenarios, that's saying yes.
Exactly. Because the whole time after supposedly the Jade Helm was supposed to be over, they pumped in, I know, 40, 50 dump truck loads of road base, and I asked what they were doing, and they said they were putting a road in through the back pasture. Well, nobody puts a road through a hayfield. And now they got new outbuildings going up and stuff like that. So to me, it's real strange.
There's just so much mystery shrouded in it, and I'm thinking this can't all be drills, you know? Like I'm sure you saw that video of that family's house that was getting raided.
Yes, I did.
Yeah, that can't be a drill. That's taking place like in residential area.
That was in
you have to have.
Cove, I think.
Like what kind of other things are happening
that we don't
to where
that we're not hearing about?
Exactly, like they're disappearing people. I know we don't want to admit that, but they are.
Well, after our brother told us that the other day about out in California, the last few days I've been noticing like 4 or 5 homeless people that used to walk this one intersection where I come home. They're not there anymore. And to me, that's just strange.
Well, it's like I read, I think back in, I think it might have been sometime in October or sometime in November, back in 2015. It was some actor lady in the UK that was talking about how they just messing around about the idea of coming up with euthanasia trucks to take care of old people and the homeless.
Oh, wow.
And I know that it sounds ridiculous and silly, but it's like what you said, you start seeing places where there's usually a congregation of homeless people, or where there's like a little bit of a shanty town area, but it's not there anymore. Like people are starting to clean things, like literally trying to clean up the streets, and that means getting rid of people like that. And it's crazy to think about that this is where we're going. But if they'll do it to homeless people and to the elderly, I mean, like that's only 2 shakes away from doing it to everyone else.
Yep, and that's what a lot of these people don't see. It's like, well, we're doing fine, we're working, it's fine, and all that. Well, you're not part of that elite class. You're not going to be fine.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter what class you are. They're gonna, if they don't want you around, you won't be around.
Well, it's like you're sucking up to a system that's evil.
Yeah.
That's anti-human. That's anti-Christ. Like it's meant to kill us,
to get us off the earth.
Exactly. Like, all right, I could talk on that for I could talk on that for days. My gosh. But back to the Jade Helm, and then we'll kind of springboard into UWEX16.
Okay, that'd be good.
All right. So you sent a letter or an email to Governor Greg Abbott asking pretty much, hey, what's going on in my backyard, right?
Right, because in the very beginning, before they actually started pumping the vans full of troops out here, there was 4 or 5 personal cars that have never been on that property before. They'd drive up and down the road, and they'd slow down and stare at me and my wife and everybody outside. And so I called my neighbor and told her, and I also emailed Abbott's office at the same time, just so that, because he had said that he was going to keep an eye on all the operations going on, and just mainly to let them know that they were next door and if they were watching them. And like you said, the response I got was basically, don't worry about it, it's all okay.
The company line.
Yes, exactly. A form letter that they send out, probably. But, it was, they did stop staring at me, but the troops still went in and out. And, there was 10 to 15 van loads of those 15 passenger vans in from 8 in the morning until I went to bed at 11 o'clock. They were still going up in there.
So you're literally seeing like whole platoons or whole like squads just trafficked in and out of what would be your backyard, and Greg Abbott's just like, don't worry about it, it's cool, I will watch it.
Right. and,
okay.
and from as far away as I was, I couldn't really tell, you know, because none of them had patches on. Sometimes they brought some in that were in camo fatigues, and then sometimes they'd come in civilian clothes.
See, that's even more strange.
Yeah.
Well, that's just saying, like, are they... That blurs the line because we don't really know whether or not...
We don't know whether they're our troops or foreign troops or what.
Well, I'm sure you've seen the video of where it's like a U.S. general sitting right there next to like a Chinese general, and the Chinese general is translating what the U.S. general is saying to Chinese soldiers.
Mm-hmm.
It's like even with the whole Oregon militia out there on the Malheur Wildlife Refuge. There was a guy out there that was doing the video. He'd been there for like a week or two, and he's just like, "Are you even American?"
Right.
Because I'm looking at how you're standing, how you're handling this situation.
Yeah.
Because you would not shoot on an American. Like, if you understand the seriousness of the situation, your role in it, you wouldn't be here. You wouldn't be an American doing what you're doing.
Exactly. And then just the way they took him out, Lavoie.
Mm-hmm.
I was surprised nothing else happened after that.
I think we all wanted to have a proper way to have like a revolution, or at least to take a stance against the government.
Yeah.
Or at least to say enough is enough. But that call, the rallying cry behind that, it wasn't enough to get people, you know? It didn't have that catch.
No.
Because I feel like we all knew kind of like where it was going at the end, and that was sad to see all play out.
Well, and then when you hear that they're up there fighting and getting drunk and all that, it kind of, you don't want to be beside that in the trenches.
Exactly. That just shows like, all right, so are these the people that are really going to hold you down whenever stuff hits the fan? Because if they're at the center of it, do you want that to be your base?
No, not at all.
Exactly.
Not at all.
But
yeah, they were bringing those vans in for at least 2 or 3 months, and I'd see them very dark tinted windows, so you couldn't see whether they were going in and out. The main times I knew when they were going in is when I would follow them out from the grocery store and in the town to out here. And I knew
so would you say
in there.
So would you say that you kind of live kind of away from most of the populated area?
Oh yeah, I live 10 miles out in the country. My nearest neighbor is a quarter mile away.
So if the idea of looking at the Jade Helm software or the Jade Helm program and thinking of it as like an artificially intelligent piece of software that does unilateral planning, et cetera, to look at it that way, what do you think the purpose is to have a base as far out as your house is? Do you think it's to kind of get like a good view of the network, the surrounding area, the terrain from your point of view?
I think exactly. They were trying to figure out exactly who is aware and who isn't, I think. Just to kind of scope the lay of the land out and find out who's with them and who's not. Because the Jade Helm program, they programmed all that in. I mean, I'm sure they programmed many of my posts and all of that and know who I am.
Yep.
And get like you said, a contour of how people are going to react when it really does go down.
It was like whenever I came into doing all this stuff, is like right whenever Jade Helm had started it, and you saw, you still see like how many troubles I have whenever people want to try to comment on stuff or,
I can't tag
or just
you.
try to talk.
I can't tag you on anything.
Yeah, and I think it's just because of that, because we're probably in that software, and they probably are aware of what we are doing.
Yeah, I'm sure I'm in somebody's software because I got a blue dot painted in front of my house.
Well, that's another thing I kind of wanted to talk to you about. That was one of my wild card questions. I remember you had told me that a while back. Do you know what kind of caused that, or what I guess what got you on their list, or what?
No, I really don't, unless it's just being a registered gun owner.
Probably.
With multiple weapons. Probably more than
and
most
in Texas.
people. But I've
and the
sold
fact that
most
you're
of
in
those
Texas.
now. Yeah.
Well, it's like with Obama's new gun control act. What did he say? That we have to. He's literally trying to traffic or watch every single traffic of gun sale or registering or trading.
Yes. And what was it? I heard that something about one state or something. They have to write a letter.
Yeah.
Why they deserve to own a gun or something like that.
I think it might be Ohio that has to do that. Where they have to write an essay as to like what they would do with it.
Yes, exactly. That's bizarre.
Well, it's just like when you see all this stuff being planted all around us, and that's, I feel like, a good way to kind of look at it, to kind of jump into UWEX16 and gun control.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you look at all this stuff that's being seed planted, and then, you know, we have the Paris attacks, you know, and look at how fast Paris is underneath martial law.
Exactly.
You know, and then we have the same kind of thing happening around here, because didn't they say they released like a document right before the Paris attacks, a day before, saying that a realistic military drill was going to take place in the same area?
Yep.
And then boom, oh no.
It happened.
Right? And so, like I said, when we see all this stuff being planted, you know, we can't help but see what's coming down the line. It's just people are in denial.
And that's what gets me, is that I think everybody is sloughing this one off because Jade Helm was nothing. I mean, in the words, I have a very good friend of mine that was at a dinner with the county judge, Paul Pape. And he came up to him and he actually told him, he goes, well, I've already signed off on the next exercise and the next Jade Helm too. I didn't even ask anybody because that went down without a hitch and nothing happened. And see, I'm afraid that that's everybody's attitude. And when you get that attitude, that's when they're going to pounce.
Yep. Well, that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to get us conditioned to where, first off, we think it's normal to have all this military activity happening all around us and not ask questions. I mean, they even said that Jade Helm did go off without a hitch. They were able to infiltrate towns. No one noticed. They're in there. They're in there with. It's because we're crazy, apparently.
I guess. Well, I mean, I guess I'm observant. I can drive down the road and see something, and my wife go, "How'd you see that?" As well, I'm watching everything that's going on. Oh,
that's because you're tuned in.
Yeah.
You're not asleep.
Exactly, and half the people probably don't notice all those medical trailers that they just brought into to Camp Swift, which is crazy.
Are those from those pictures I sent you with those European moving trucks, or those trucks with the European plates on them?
No, that's the. I sent you a video. I guess you didn't get it. There's like 15. They're called Johnsonite health trailer, dental trailer, 3D vision trailer, and there's probably 15 of them there. And they got big generators set up powering them, and they're running troops through them right now.
So it's a mobile base.
It's a mobile health base.
Oh my God! And this is what, just in the middle of your city?
It's out at Camp Swift, right on. It's probably about halfway between Bastrop and Elgin. But, Camp Swift is pretty large. Because it was the largest internment camp during World War II for Japanese citizens.
So what do you think about, if you don't mind me asking, the idea of them taking people, I guess, to these FEMA camps, to these concentration camps, or these detention centers?
I'm not going.
Hell no.
There's no way. I mean, I think it's totally wrong, and the people that they're taking, I feel for them. But
it's like it's the Mexicans that are coming across the borders and some of these refugees,
Yeah. Exactly.
And it's just like the range and scope of it all is crazy.
And I don't know why people don't see what's going on. I guess they're too in tune to their TVs.
Well, it's like, I understand it's heavy stuff to talk about. I understand it's,
I mean, they might be harvesting organs from these people and selling them. How do we know?
We don't. But we do know they're using slave labor.
Yeah.
Or that they're using them for some kind of experimentation. Or taking them to the quote-unquote, as Hillary Clinton put it, re-education camps.
Yeah.
Or re-education centers. Like, I'm looking at this article, or this one of those job postings for Jade Helm 15 and UWEX16. They posted it in November 2015. So like 1 month before 2015 was over, and it was for a media role player and a newspaper article writer. So they're already they're already thinking that far back. How do we start getting the propaganda out?
Yep.
For UWEX16? How do we start or close the year with getting people away from this concept and opening up 2016 with the idea that it's not going on?
Right.
And they're saying that the role player will be needed in Camp Raleigh, from March 13th to May 3rd, 2016.
And see, that's the whole time during UX15 or 16.
And see, and whenever it ends in May, that's whenever Obama has to have a report
for the UN.
For a small, exactly, for the gun confiscation, for gun control.
Now, and you put all those together, it's like, okay, and UWEX16 is also supposed to have foreign troops mixed in with it.
Right.
And foreign troops don't care whether you're American or not.
They don't. Well, it's like I have like a screenshot of an article from back in 2013 where it's like United Nations soldiers have been already, or United Nations soldiers have agreed to kill Americans who don't turn their guns in. And I tell people this like all the time is we're seeing right now our Constitution and Bill of Rights being burned.
It's been trashed.
So we can sign underneath global treaties.
Yep, exactly.
That's why we had like all those people from the military just fall away.
Well, see, that's another one. There's the big talk show host down here in Austin. He's not mentioning UWEX16 either.
At all.
Nothing about it.
At all. Well, I thought it was very strange how he went to Rome. Whenever it was happening.
Yep. And look at what the Pope's doing.
Well, he's in Mexico right now.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, he flew back today. Back to...
Yeah.
But yeah, him and Trump are having their little spat.
And talk about Christians. Oh, my God.
I know.
Oh, my God. This is the Franken-Pope. This is a New World Order puppet. You can tell. Everything he says is just...
It's garbage. I mean, he's just... But you look deep into the Catholic Church, there's some shady stuff there.
They're all a bunch of pedophiles.
Yeah.
And it's not a joke. I mean, like... Give me 1 second to pull up my notes, because I definitely went and did some studying on just that fact, just to look into how corrupt the church was, or at least how many different people within the church are just like compromised.
Yeah, all the priests. Makes me sick.
It's like they call it the Black Flame or the Black Sun. It's like a secret sect within the Catholic Church of Nazis that were converted into priests after World War II. So they had a secret sect of fake Zionist Nazi priests in the Catholic Church, creating their own sect of just evil people, man. It's crazy, you know?
Wow.
That is. But I could go on that forever.
Yeah. but
to get back to Jade Helm and UWEX16.
Yeah, well, the UWEX16, it concerns me quite a bit, just because of the fact in Jade Helm, they took the advantage of moving equipment, I feel, wherever they would need it. And now they're shutting down all these Walmarts that are close to train tracks.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I also told you that here in Smithville, they went in there and put a U-turn in the train tracks, so that it could be going from, I guess, east to west, and then almost make a U-turn and go back the same way it came from, but heading south.
That's strange.
Yeah, and they can't even do it at full speed, and they have to have somebody there greasing the tracks because it's so tight. It's real strange.
What? Well, it's like we saw all of the transport of the military equipment and of the soldiers, pretty much what it seemed like, from coast to coast.
Mm-hmm.
You know, people had videos, people had pictures. They even had that one interview where the guy got asked by I think it was state employees if he knew what Jade Helm 15 was. Like, someone actually came up to his door and asked him like a few questions about Jade Helm 15.
Yeah, I remember.
Like that. we had all this information, or at least all this stuff out there about it, and then, you know, come time around for UWEX16 to start picking up, we don't really hear anything about it.
I've seen your post and a couple things but nothing.
I feel like what a lot of it is them trying to, maybe that was the plan with Jade Helm 15, to see how many people would pick it up, and then with the following year, because they know they're going to do it again,
mm-hmm.
see how well they can keep it covert and see what kind of information does get out.
Right.
You see who's actually, like, really monitor what kind of information is being put out.
I have a feeling you're right. I mean, it's but having all the troops and stuff showing up, I got a bad feeling.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying it's going to happen, but if it does, that'll be the start of the whatever's going to happen. I know if the first time somebody knows for sure that military's going in and confiscating weapons, I mean, that's going to be the, I guess, proverbial shot that's heard around the world.
Oh yeah. Well, you can't come in. You can't come take my guns. You can't detain me and then take my guns and say I'm the one that did something wrong. You can't make me the victim in my own house, in my own country,
right? And
think you can get away with it. You know?
Exactly.
And if I'm only one person, obviously it's going to happen to a lot more people. You know? And that, like you said, is going to be the proverbial shot heard around the world.
As long as they're not getting all in position where they go, okay, 1, 2, 3, everybody hit it, before anybody can get to anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what kind of gets me, because of the massiveness of Jade Helm and the massiveness of UWEX16. You know, they're pretty well positioned all the way around the United States.
Yep.
So if they did okay, next hour we're going to raid everybody we can, that could be pretty devastating.
Well, it's like it would be like a shock operation.
Yeah, exactly. And
where they just get all the people that are politically dissident all at the same time.
And that's what scares me about nobody really paying attention to what's going on. I mean, believe me, I hope nothing happens.
Mm-hmm.
But people need to be aware of what's happening and at least letting everybody else know what's happening so they can be aware.
Well, see, that's why I feel like just having this episode, having this kind of information out there in the public is good for people to know. So we can build the base for people to understand that something did happen. They built some kind of infrastructure, some kind of network that we don't even understand, and they're going to build on top of that this year.
Exactly.
We like the fact that we can say something happened. We may not be able to fully understand what it is, but we can document it. We can say from this perspective, this is what we look at it, and this is our response to it. And they're going to continue to do it. For us to do this gets people aware that, hey, there is something going on, and hopefully they will go out and go find more information or go pay attention to something else,
Exactly. Because we have to stay on our toes and keep documenting this stuff. If not, we're going to go to sleep. And it'll be too late.
Well, I feel like that's what they try to do with Jade Helm.
Yep.
At the beginning, they tried to just play it off like, oh, this is nothing. It's kooky. Don't pay any attention to it. It's nothing. And people started just seeing too much stuff, and they couldn't deny the truth,
Or were they wanting us to see all that stuff?
This is true too. Well, and then.
Because why haul it down the road in daylight when you can haul it down the road at night and probably half the people will see it?
Exactly. So is it a psyop? You think that's
kind of, they were trying to feel us out.
Well, it's like whenever you look at the Jade Helm software, the Joint Assessment for Development and Execution project made by DARPA, that's exactly what it is. They need both the physical reaction and the digital reaction to kind of...
And that's when they say they're studying the because when they first were saying, we're going to study the contour of the area. And it's like, well... And I didn't snap to the fact they were talking about how people reacted. I thought, well, y'all are going to come out and study my cows? And then when I read up on Jade Helm and found out about Jade and the computer program, it was like, oh, okay, it just all snapped. It was like a light went off.
It's like
studying our reactions to what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And since they're on IG and everything else, they're watching and they know who does what.
Well, it's like, and I feel like the perfect example of this is like Infidel Kitty. I feel like that's a perfect example of just like how in depth these people really are.
Would she have 3 or 4 accounts and she's talking back and forth to herself on all of them?
Mm-hmm. Pretty much being a crazy person,
yeah.
But also spreading disinformation and stopping information from developing. And just stopping all of the progress that we could have made, and that's how simple it is,
That's how they operate.
And now it's crazy to think about, because we definitely had conversations with her about what was it about how the Chinese have
all the water, all the Great Lakes.
Yep. And I thought that was great information. That was perfect. But when all this stuff started surfacing about her, I definitely had to.
Well, that was
kind of dial it back.
I started kind of snapping to all that stuff, and I was like, and I asked you, did she ever send you that information she was going to? And you said no. Okay, well, somebody needs to check into her.
And then she got into the whole thing with Kiablo and
yep.
TruthSec, and
yeah.
it's just crazy because I'm not, I feel like as far as getting involved with all this stuff, I'm relatively new to it. Like this is still like my freshman year as far as this stuff goes.
As far as me being involved to the extent that I am now, it is too.
Right? But it when you see this stuff, it forces you to.
I have to. I mean, I want my kids and my grandkids to have a world to grow up in. A lot better than this one's become. I remember the world when I was growing up, and it was a heck of a lot better than this.
Man, I'm not even that old, and I'm in my 20s, and I've seen this world just change, and I don't even know what to say about it. A generation younger than me, I'm already seeing the effects of just like fluoride in the water, video games, and just godless mindset of where they just don't care for anything. And I see what that does to someone, and it's scary.
Very scary.
It's very scary because you start thinking, what is this person going to do with their life if they've already given up on it at such a young age?
And there's so many kids just giving up for no reason.
I know. And it worries me, man.
It's the songs they listen to depress them. I mean, some of those songs to me are just totally depressing. And you listen to that all the time, that's what you're going to become, depressed. Get outside.
Well, it's like how many times can we just keep hearing about cars, clothes, girls, money, and all these other things that we don't have until we just, like you said, start to have like a general depression towards life and just give up.
Yeah, because you finally figure out that there's no way you're going to ever get that unless you sell your soul.
And that's even worse because then they want to do that.
Yep.
Then they understand like the complexity of it. Like, oh, I can't work my way to that position, so why don't I just cheat, give up, and go sell my soul?
Exactly.
And that's what some of these people that are buying into this system, that are doing this, that understand what they're doing against the general public. That's where they're coming from. They've already like resolved to die or resolved to giving themselves over to the system.
They don't believe in a God or a life after.
And and that's definitely one thing that all of this has taught me.
That's when
that there is a God.
Yes. And that's when our world started its decline, is when they took prayer out of school. I mean, this country was founded on God. But, they took prayer out of school. They're telling us to take the Ten Commandments down, but they could put their Satanistic statues up and all that.
That's something else entirely.
That's a whole other story.
Like that. Well, look at the symbology of it. They're tearing down the Ten Commandments, erecting a Baphomet statue in Michigan.
Yes.
Where it's crumbling. Like we can see the state just going to crap, but they have enough money to erect a Baphomet statue and hold satanic ceremonies at the bottom of official buildings. You see,
that's our world is just gone. It's a fight between good and evil.
It is.
It really is, and humanity has to stand up and win.
And I feel like whenever we're talking about this stuff, in the background of everything, we have these machines just orchestrating all of this chaos. You see what I'm saying? A controlled collapse.
Yes.
And I feel like whenever we sit on Instagram all day, or we sit on Facebook all day, or we sit on the Xbox all day, and we stay inside all day, not only are we losing nutrients, we're not developing any personal or interpersonal skills.
You're not
or
socializing, as my mom used to put it.
Exactly. You're not growing up. You're not you're staying in a mindset where everything's
and
safe.
like I tell my son, if you don't learn something every day, then you didn't get up. Because you got to be able to learn something from somebody every day, whether it be history of the area you live in or whatever. And these kids are just too easy to go to Google, and that's their history.
That's the mind control, is what that is.
You look back when you used to sit around the campfire and everybody told a story. Well, that story probably really had meaning to it. It was how they were brought up or how were they raised, and you know, there was always a message in those stories.
Well, it's like you can't convey emotion through text.
No.
Like you can read passion, but you can't convey emotion through it. Like that's something that has to be felt through human interaction.
Yep.
And I feel like that's definitely what we're losing, and people are piggybacking off of that concept of just dehumanizing us, of just not letting us fully flourish in our growth. You know,
they're holding us back.
Exactly, and I tell people this all the time. I'm like, look at Obama's campaign phrase, right? We want to change so bad, right? Well, look at all the crazy stuff that has happened because he was in presidency. Like, look at what we could have done. He's subverted our renaissance. Like, we were supposed to have a renaissance with all this technology. Like, look, the conversation that we're having, the amount of research that we're able to do in a single day. You know, what we're able to do on just our phones.
Exactly.
But we're upset about a Black Lives Matter campaign, or, you know, a transvestite getting a separate bathroom.
But yet everything else is unisex. No.
You know, and it's ridiculous when you put it that way. It's just like, and this is what we're dealing with in 2016.
And throwing away the Constitution and states' rights over being able to say who can get married and who can't.
Well, it's like, wasn't that in Michigan as well? Instead of trying to figure out the Flint water crisis, they went and told you that it was illegal to have anal sex and something else, sodomy. And my God, you know,
it's crazy.
I feel like what it is at the same time too is because of this great inversion that we're going through, this change that we're in right now. Whenever statements like that come out, they know what they're doing. They're making declarations. They're intentionally slapping us in the face to say obey.
Yeah.
It's like this is the situation. Yes, we understand that Flint has bad water, but no more sex for you guys. Okay, that's where we're getting at. We don't really care about your guys' cries and demands.
But I can't have sex.
This is what
the way you want to.
Exactly. The government has declared that you cannot do this, and I feel like whenever people abide by that, it gives more power to that system.
It does, and it controls more people's brains and minds. I just don't, and people fall into it. Time to wake up.
Well, it's like that's, and I feel like that's what's happening right now, is because we're underneath so much pressure. We're going to see a lot of people starting to crack, but we're also going to see like a lot of people being strengthened by all of this craziness.
And the people that are worried about the money, they don't need to be worried about the money, because I mean, I try to tell my mom all the time, that piece of paper you have in there that says you have all this money, it can be gone tomorrow. And I don't know, I've never been a money worshiper, and that's what most of the people out there become that I see. It's like all about the money. Well, I got to make this much. They can't just be happy doing their job.
Well, it's like, if I could Well, that's what I'm trying to do with this, man. If I could stop with all of my other jobs that I'm doing and just do this full time, like, I would be, oh man, I'd be way more happy than a kid in Toys R Us on his birthday with ice cream, you know?
But I mean, it's our society here has done that. I mean, how many countries over in, what is it, Sweden, Germany, and Denmark, and all that have free college for the kids? Why? I mean, why? If we want to be the superpower, we need intelligence. Why aren't we giving our kids free school?
Because we're not trying to.
We don't want to be.
We don't. We're ranked like at least in the 30s as far as like education and healthcare. And we have like a quarter of the world's population like in our prisons. You know? And then you start thinking about what they're doing to all the food, the water, the GMO crops, the air. You know, they're trying to dumb us down.
Well, that's like my neighbor asked me. She goes, "You're not going to put down any broadleaf weed killer or anything kill that clover?" I said, "No, I'm not putting any chemicals in here to go in the groundwater. I'll mow it, and whatever comes up, comes up. Cows can eat it or not."
Well, it's like, what does that do to your soil, like, years after?
We don't know.
Exactly. And then you're just going to ingest that and then give it to your kids, and then it's going to mutate, and then they're going to give it to their kids, and then it's going to mutate again.
And that's part of their eugenics projects, probably.
And I feel like this is part of that big shift, because whenever all this stuff starts happening, we're going to be the kind of people that people want to listen to, because it's the truth, and they're going to be hungry to know, hey, why is it that whenever I give my kid this apple, he's freaking out, or he's convulsing? I thought fruits were a good thing. What is this about?
Exactly. I mean, we don't know what. I mean, my wife's grandma, we took care of her until she was 99 years old. And she grew up in the back hollows of West Virginia on homegrown food, and she was the healthiest person I've ever seen. But she was eating homegrown good food. That's, you know, all these preservatives and stuff they put in all these foods, that's what's killing us. You're not getting any nutrients, so you eat twice as much and you bloat up.
Yep. And that's why we got obesity on the rise. That's why we got autism on the rise. All kinds of other sicknesses and diseases, or diseases just coming out of nowhere. It's crazy.
Exactly. And then, but you know, you're not hearing much about the Zika virus anymore. And what happened to Ebola?
All right. Well, I feel like this is another one of, like I said, another one of those things where they can implement the quote-unquote state of emergency or medical martial law, to where, like in Venezuela or Brazil, where they have
all these troops at UWEX16 against something that they might be ready to spread.
I know there's like a standard military vaccine that people get once they enter. But I'm not sure if they've done it recently.
But if all these troops are going through there, I mean, most troops, they get vaccinated. I got vaccinated before I went to boot camp, or in boot camp. This is, I mean, these are active duty troops. The only vaccinations they would be getting if there's something new they're going to vaccinate them against.
Do you think that they get a shot or something between, like, whenever these new outbreaks come? Do you think they get an update then? That way they don't contract like any kind of minor case of it?
That's very possible.
So then to kind of jump back to UWEX16, I'm looking at still some more of their documents where they have a state senator representative role playing, or a Department of State role player position.
Why would they go that high?
Exactly. So is it that do you think that they're trying to orchestrate some kind
governmental thing?
Some kind of coup? Like, let me just read you off some of the positions they have up here, like the Department of State role player, the Resistance Force Area Commander role player, the Guerrilla Chief role player, the Media role player and news article writer, and the Anti-Insurgent role player.
That's pretty high up stuff,
right? These are all like positions that influence. These are top-down positions. It's like these are people that are going to be moving and shaking whatever goes on with civilians, with people that are just going to get shoveled around.
Hey, that's even puts another twist on it.
Well, it's like I told you about how what was it out there in Loveland, Colorado? How they were talking about they had broadcasted how there's going to be a bank shutdown this weekend.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
See, that's all they got to do to get us is just. I mean, I had my credit card hacked Friday, and so I can't get any money out of the bank until Monday. And that's all they'd have to do is shut our banks down.
Well, that's what they did that's what they're doing in Venezuela. They shut down their bank for the weekend, and then they ran out of food, and so then the bank held over for a few more days, and then out of nowhere they stopped getting food. They were unable to withdraw money, and now we're starting to see them put troops on the street.
Yeah.
You know,
martial law.
Didn't that same thing happen with Greece?
And that the UN war?
So it's
worldwide martial law.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's like, did you see that? Did you see that bill or that resolution that Mitch McConnell recently put up for HJ Res 15? And I feel like that might play into all of this some kind of way as well. The fact that they have Obama trying to hint towards the fact that he's going to have a third term, or be some kind of interim president, or he's not going to leave office. I feel like the fact that he keeps alluding to it
means that something's going to happen.
Yeah, he's planning something.
There is something on the burner that's going to happen this year. It might not be UWEX16, but there's a lot of stuff that they've signed off on treaties and stuff that's going to come to pass that they've got to answer for.
Well, it's like with the ATT, the Small Arm Trade Treaty, where Obama's got to have actual results for how many guns he's confiscated. And then the whole COP21, them revitalizing the Freedom or the Patriot Act to the Freedom Act, and then Agenda 2030 from Agenda 21. And these are all global plans. Like everybody is getting these orders.
You know, if you go out and you mention, probably half the people won't even know what you're talking about.
I know.
That's what's sad. But they can tell you who dunked the basketball last night.
Great. Did he do it twice? Like it, you know, you got to laugh at this stuff to some degree, because it's just like it's so crazy.
Got to keep your humor, brother. Got to keep your humor.
I try to. You definitely
or
have
else it'll just get to you.
Well, I honestly look at this stuff as like a huge mantle, you know, as like a huge honor to be like in this time, in this place, to be able to do these types of things, you know, to have these kinds of discussions. Hell yeah, it's crazy, you know. I would be crazy to think that it's not crazy. But the fact that the fact that this is going on shows your role in it, shows your place, and shows what could happen if people decide to stand up.
Exactly. And we're going to have to. We can't let them steamroll us.
Oh, no way.
I
feel like that's what...
do it
go ahead.
through words and blogs and stuff like that, and nobody has to shed any blood, but I don't really see that. Because that's not their agenda.
Well, I feel like what's happening right now is we're witnessing a revolution, a political revolution, as well as like a governmental
exactly.
coup. So those are two separate
and that's,
pockets.
I think, why a lot of people are supporting Trump, because he is the closest to a governmental coup than anybody running. Because he's so different.
And I mean, you know, he's saying somewhat of the right things. I could understand, you know, why people are, you know, trying to put their faith in him. But it's just like, for me, honestly, I don't. Where we're at right now, we need more of a spiritual revolution than any of these
exactly. Because, I mean, being a businessman and all that's great, but you still have the Federal Reserve printing money and all. We do. We need a spiritual revolution.
Well, it's like there's no political solution for a spiritual problem. And I feel like right now, you know, we can all feel it. We can all feel it. We can all see it, that there is something wrong with the people. There is something wrong with us. There is something wrong with how we're going about things. And we're trying to fight fire with fire, and we're all just going to end up burned. I don't mean to sound like I'm preaching or like I'm you know, saying anything new. I just feel like when you look at it, you can understand there's something wrong.
Very wrong.
It's 2016. I feel like people now have the choice to either be asleep
or
awake, you know. And most people are just choosing to take their news from Facebook or ABC or CNN, and they want to be told everything is fine. Everything is awesome.
Perfectly fine. I mean, you don't hear anything on any of the major newscasts of the troops mounting up in Saudi Arabia and Russia and Turkey and all of that. The only thing you hear today is there's a possible ceasefire. I heard that.
You know, is it bad to say that I kind of want a ceasefire to happen? Because if this opens up, man, this is going to be a literal like it's
exactly.
World War III. That is we're looking at World War III.
There was a ceasefire. Honestly.
I was too. The fact that I was having so many different articles, like from so much military activity from all over the place, and I could not keep up with what was going on. That definitely kind of worried me, because I couldn't
keep it all up.
I couldn't.
Too much was happening,
and it was hard.
Everywhere.
Well, it's like it is 350,000 troops and 20,000 tanks, 2,450 warplanes, and like 400 some odd military helicopters, and at least 12 countries just swarming.
That's not good.
Really fast, without like any kind of. I mean, without any kind of plan. That's definitely scary.
And then you got the lunatic over there blowing off some nuclear missiles.
Kim Jong-un's, oh my God, just too much is going on. You know, he's threatening us. Obama's trying to throw down sanctions on him, and we don't have our president doesn't have the strength or the charisma that's needed to kind of.
No.
Exactly. Right now, he's just too sly.
That's because he's hiding his other agenda.
Mm-hmm.
And his other agenda is to be head of the UN and control the world.
I definitely saw that. Was it a Secretary General or Secretary of State that he got the the position offered to? I forget.
I think. The head of the UN.
So it's like after he gets done wrecking our country.
Or he'll give it to whoever he wants to.
That's even more wild. I mean, so let's get this straight. We got the Pope over here saying, first off, that we can bless aliens. We can also bless human animal
and we should
chimeras,
only have one world religion.
Because Christ died on the cross and was a failure. Like, he's saying all these blasphemous things, and then for our spirit, and then you have Barack Obama saying you didn't build your house, you can keep your doctor, but I'm going to raise the price for everything. And just it's like, when you look at all this stuff, how can you not see the New World Order rising through these false prophets?
How can you not see what's going on?
And it's like with shows like Lucifer going on, and all of it, you know, like they're priming us to be savages.
Don't get me wrong, I used to watch 2.5 Men all the time, but that would have never been on at 6:30 when I was a kid.
Sure. Half of these shows shouldn't be on, man.
No, they're adult only.
Yeah. If they're not adult only, then they have early sexualization of children, where you have little girls pretty much being whores. You know, there's no other way to say it. Era. Yeah, and you know, I can't talk noise. You know, I'm definitely a product of Britney Spears and Justin Timberlake and that whole you know, Disney kid generation thing. But it's like, when you take a step back and you look at Miley Cyrus over here, and you're like, do I need to explain why this is bad? You know, and people still support it. You really got to wonder, like, what's going on with the population.
You can't discipline your kids anymore without the state threatening them to take away from you. You know, if you spank your kids, CPS will come in here and take them away. And that's what they want.
They want to replace family with, or they want to replace family with government.
Because family's tight.
Nope. And I feel like that's, whenever we look at like what the Pope's saying, and because I looked at the Super Bowl videos afterwards. I did not watch the Super Bowl. I paid attention to it after and kind of broke everything down. It's like, when you look at the Super Bowl and they put that phrase up there, believe in love, and then you got Pope Francis coming out with his one world religion video, where he's got a rabbi, he's got a priest, he's got a monk, and he's got all kinds of people from all kinds of disciplines saying that they believe in love.
Yeah.
That's false love, because, like you said, family is tight. Family is love unconditionally. That's real love. That's love with discernment. That's love with wisdom, and that's true love. The love that they offer us,
the love of money,
with this,
the love of a potato chip, it's not unconditional love. Because if it was, they wouldn't be paying a football star $18 million a year or whatever. They'd be taking that money and helping out people that need help.
Well, it's part of the idea that they can tell you what love is. We love you. That the government loves you. That football loves you. That Beyonce loves you. It
started with me when they told me I had to put a seatbelt on. I have to put a seatbelt on driving my 3/4-ton truck down the road, but yet I can ride my motorcycle down the road without a helmet on. It's brainwashing people into doing what they tell you to do. Yeah.
Like a good soldier and a good order taker. It's like with school, you know. Yeah, I tell people this all the time. It's there to measure how long and how intricately you can take orders.
Exactly.
Like, can you discipline yourself for 4 years to listen to someone tell you how to listen to a book, not even them, how to listen to a book, and to do this way for 4 years? And, you know, I'm definitely not knocking school, because I understand it has its purpose, but it also has, you know, its anti-purpose, where it's meant to brainwash us and meant to institutionalize us to where we don't think.
Books. I mean, it's like I hear what they're teaching my son now and what I learned, and they're changing history. I mean, and then this Common Core stuff about, I looked at that math and it was like, y'all are, I don't know what y'all are smoking when y'all wrote this book.
It's ridiculous. It's way too many unnecessary steps.
Exactly.
It's for like 2 times 6. They're like, you have to multiply back this number and do all way too many additional steps. Like, it's deliberately
confusing,
filling them, deliberately confusing people. And so it's like when, and I don't mean to, you know, sound like a broken record, but it's like when you look at all this stuff together, of course people aren't going to believe that, firstly, the military is infiltrating towns. Secondly, they have artificial intelligence that pretty much can map out the whole
and can
terrain.
Tell them what the next move in that terrain will be before it happens.
But they can see it in a movie, they can see it in a video game, and they can, you know, even dream about it. But for it to be a reality,
it almost has to slap something
too much
in the
for
face.
Well, it's like whenever I like to do this, sometimes I'll just be walking around the campus, and I'll just like walk up to people and I'll just be like, "Hey, do you know about Jade Helm 15? Or do you know about this?"
I do that all the time.
It's good to shake people, because, you know, it shows the kind of people that we are. You know, just to walk up, "Hey, I just want to say hey, help you out," and that's it. I'm gone.
And
go
some people will actually go back and research it.
And that's what it's about.
That's what I tell people. I said, y'all can go look this up if you want to, or whatever. I'm just trying to wake everybody up. And then I'll talk more and more about what's going on in the world. And I said, now, can you tell me this isn't screwed up? Go look that up I was telling you about. I mean, they have to wake up themselves.
You can. You have to. You can connect some of the things that happen every day to some of these global agendas, and that's how simple it is. Really, is just, instead of getting caught up in the hype, look at the origin of the issue, and then break it down from there, and then reverse engineer a solution.
Exactly.
It's just like the formula that they use against us, the problem, reaction, solution. We have to use it, I guess, and reverse against them, or use it with them. Because the only reason this seems kind of crazy and out there is because last year we were getting all kinds of information about it, and this year we're not hearing anything. Nothing. So we're having to go out there to create, hey, whoa, this is the problem. No one's talking about it. This is obviously an issue. So is this
the next step to see who really does talk about it?
Well, shoot, man, if it is, I guess we're right there at the tip of the spear.
I'm ready.
Hey, man, if anything, that's just more people that are going to be right there with us.
Exactly. But, you know, that one girl, like I said, she said a lot of stuff moving out there in West Texas. another one said a bunch of stuff moving up in Colorado. So you can tell it's fixing to kick off.
So what do you think, like, because they tell us that it was supposed to take place in Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, and Nevada. Like, what do you think we'll see as far as UWEX16?
I think we might see more actual military movement around than
like more
of the equipment
or
moving more with, you know, like they showed the person in those MRAPs driving down the highway in California. That was about a month ago.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other thing that coincides with all this is all the Walmarts being shut down at about the same time. I mean, they shut down 6 when Jade Helm started, and now they're scheduled to shut down, 256, something like that?
Yep, over 250 of them, yep.
In Central America and the United States. And now one girl told me they shut 3 down in the Midland, Odessa area, and all the ones they shut down are next to railroad tracks.
And they never reopened them,
they just shut them down. These are new ones.
I remember there was a guy, I'm not sure where Pico Rivera is, but there was a guy that was going around into one of these closed Walmarts.
California.
And pretty much just...
Yeah, Southern California, I think.
Okay, he was pretty much just walking around the perimeter on the back end, one of the loading docks of the Walmart, just peeking in, looking what was going on. It was completely cleared. Nothing was there. I think it was like only dividers, and it wasn't like shelves. It was dividers. I'll definitely try to find the video for it, but it's like...
Well, they're emptying them out. My son told me that they were going to close the one in Bastrop.
See, what do you think that's going to do to your guys' economy and infrastructure?
Maybe they're closing them early because they know there's not going to be any food on the shelves to serve anybody.
So for the economic collapse, for the financial collapse?
That, and if they're going to start taking guns, then they're going to start putting people in FEMA camps. They won't be buying food.
See, I feel like there's so many different scenarios that like all coincide and work with one another. It's just like the order that it takes place. And
why I just don't understand the timing of it, I guess, either. You know.
Well, it's like with gun control and the whole Oregon militia thing. I mean, look at how that carried over into 2016. Like that was set up perfect for Obama, you know. So if he ever wants to talk about it, you know, in the coming months, he's already got an example. He's like, we started off the year with this, you know. So the timing of it, like you said, it is eerie because we're starting to see like a rise in military tension.
And then they talk about foreign troops, open borders, and so they're shutting 115 Walmarts down in Central America. You know,
and over 250 worldwide. And, you know, and when you look at Central America, what's going on there? They got Brazil going through the Zika virus, Venezuela having troops on the ground, and then, you know, the economic and the financial crisis going on there as well. You know, it's what they do strategically.
And that's people like me and you pick up on that. A lot of people don't put it all together in a big circle and try to sort it out into the puzzle.
Well, that's why I started all of this off with what you experienced.
Right.
I don't know if that was like God-given or or what you would call that, but what you experienced is what people need to hear.
Exactly. I've experienced some things. I lived in South America. My dad was a missionary with the Methodist Church down there. That was a nice, simple life. I loved it. But I loved it down there. But there's, you know, I've had things come to me and feelings, and this is just a feeling that, you know, they're calling for it to end in May, but who knows? They're saying foreign troops, and then all the UN stuff. It's just a real eerie time.
It's like the perfect political storm for these guys.
And all they have to do is have one more mass shooting or one dirty bomb, and they don't know whether it was patriots or refugees or whatever, and then we're in lockdown.
The same thing that happened in Paris. I feel like what's going on in Paris is the perfect example of what could happen here. A false flag occurring, and then literally overnight being transformed into a police state martial law.
They're so open about their false flags now, they don't care whether you know it's a false flag or not.
It's like, look at the Justice Scalia situation.
Well, we walked in, he had a pillow over his head, but he had a heart attack.
It's like, what? Are you serious? And the guy that was there with him that night said he walked into his room feeling nervous. So,
and let's not do an autopsy.
Obama doesn't even go to the funeral the day that it happens. He goes to Cuba instead. That's what I'm saying. And I remember hearing or listening on a separate show to somebody that was talking about Obama's Secret Service agents and how he treats them.
Oh, really?
Yeah, how he treats them like dogs, how he's, orders them to do menial things like go and get a coffee, go and get food, take care of, like, the kids, like, nothing, that would actually be
royalty.
Serious. Exactly. He's just like, well, he does pray 5 times a day, like
Muslim would.
He just...
Don't get me wrong.
He condemns Americans. Oh, no. I have no quarrel with however anybody expresses their belief.
I'm a Christian.
It's the minute
I believe in humanity. I have problems with people using religions for profit, and
I feel like that's what ISIS is.
I do too. And the Muslims are paying the price for it. But that's what they want. They want a war between Christians and Muslims. That's one way to eliminate half the population.
Well, that's their overall plan. I forget from which book it comes, but the Third World War will be conducted in such a way that Islam, the Muslim Arabic world, and the political Zion, the state of Israel, mutually destroy each other. That's the goal of the quote unquote Illuminati, or the agentures, or the Illuminati, the political Zionists.
And that's what happened.
And that's what it's like whenever with Syria, whenever we thought with the ceasefire, I thought we were going to see the prophecy of Damascus falling be fulfilled, but this ceasefire, it holds it off.
Maybe they're not ready yet.
And I thought that as well, as far as because I thought World War III was going to happen with Jade Helm 15. I thought that Russia was going to come in with China. We got reports of them being on both of our coasts, and us kind of getting tense feelings about that. And then that's whenever, Infidel Kitty was telling me about all the Great Lakes being bought by China. I thought that's whenever World War III was going to kick off then. I didn't think
they were going to
be ready.
Collect their debt.
And then, exactly. And then we see what's happening now, kind of around the same situations, if not intensified. And I don't want to say it's not that they're ready. I guess I'm just trying to see where it gets started, because there's other things that have to happen.
Right.
First.
There's
I feel like
certain prophecies that have to be fulfilled before all that can happen.
Exactly. And chronologically, it doesn't. I guess it just doesn't make sense yet.
It's but I have a feeling it's this year, because I don't know, elections. You think we'll have elections?
Part of my gut's telling me no. I feel like something might happen, some kind of false flag to where Obama erects a temporary state of emergency, to where he extends that state of emergency, interrupting the presidential elections. He is
power hungry.
He's writing new laws, talking about all kinds of executive orders and doing all kinds of things that really are what a dictator would do. Like the fact that they're talking about H.J. Res 15 doing away with the 22nd Amendment that would limit the number of terms a president is allowed to serve. The fact that we're talking about that now shows you like where he's coming from in his presidency.
Because he's not ready to give it up. And that could be why they're prolonging this, is because there's not enough stuff happening right in the world for him to be able to step into the UN and take over the world.
So do you think it'll be like a... Do you
maybe
think
that's by the military.
They'll create some kind of false flag?
A false flag? Yeah.
Yeah. Or do you think that could be the military with its coup, trying to actually reserve some part of the Constitution?
That's what I would hope. That's what I would hope. That our military would back us up. But then you have all these Blackwater people, too, that you don't know what they'll do for money.
I mean, they're mercenaries. You know, they're at the mercy of the highest bidder.
The highest payer gets me to do what I want to do. But
so I feel like to kind of sum it up, because I feel like we definitely definitely. Oh yeah, definitely got a decent amount of stuff out there for people to listen to and go back and check on. I guess to summarize it up for people, what would you want to say?
I'd just like to make sure everybody wakes up and let's do this the right way and without bloodshed. And I'm not sure exactly how that is, but wake your friends up. That's the main thing. Wake everybody up you can.
Well, people got to know that this is, first off, that this kind of stuff is happening, and that even if we don't talk about it or you don't talk about it, people are talking about it, and things are actually happening.
And get out and tell your friends. Tell everybody you can. Don't be scared to be looked at as a nut. I've been looked at as a nut for 15 years, and it's all coming true.
Don't worry, you're not alone. You have friends.
Well, man, it's been great talking to you. And
we're definitely going to have to do it again, brother.
For sure. I'm open anytime. And I'm going to do some more surveillance and stuff like that once this stuff kicks off, and I will definitely keep you informed.
I very much appreciate it, brother. Thank you.
Have a good evening.
You as well, brother. God bless. So there you guys have it. Clearly there's a lot more things going on in the world besides the slam dunk contest and the Super Bowl. And I'm more than willing to talk about it. We have a lot of things that need to be talked about, and some of this information needs to be put out there. If you guys have any questions, feel free to email me. I'll have it in the description bar below all this. And if you have any questions, like I said, get a hold of me. I'm more than willing to talk to you guys. Please check out some of the other videos that we do have, because there is a lot of different things going on right now. And as always, guys, remember, stay vigilant, expose lies, and share truth. This is Noise Era, Freedom Faction, out. Brother, God bless.
Bye.